Welcome back to the 31305 podcast, episode 48, coming at you as a newly marked champion. Not really. I'm not a part of the team. I probably don't even support hockey, but the Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup. Very much excited for that. As being much more of a hockey fan, Taylor, you'll have more input on this probably than I do. But how's your week in sports been? I think we took a week off last week because it was super non-existent, no major headlines. Now we've got a whole bunch to talk about for this week.
Yeah, we wrapped up the last two, I guess, big things: NBA Finals, NHL Finals. We're into the dog days of summer with baseball now. But I have to say, the Euros have been amazing to watch so far. Copa America started. The Olympics are coming up. So yeah, we lose a couple big sports, but still some stuff on the horizon and stuff currently going on that has been quite enjoyable. I will say I've tried to watch every Euro game that I can.
It's been enjoyable. I told you,
Yeah,
I tried to get you on the soccer last year.
I told you
It's
I like club soccer, or I like international soccer. I don't like club. I can't get into the club, but like
the
international soccer comes around, I'm watching.
games have been great. I don't know if you saw the ones from today also. I mean,
I unfortunately did not get to watch. I saw it happen, but I didn't get to watch.
okay. Well, maybe we'll talk about that at the end. But we'll start with America's favorite pastime, national pastime, baseball of all things. But unfortunately, with somber news, as we talked about the Red Rockwood Field game going on in Alabama last week, happened between the Giants and the Cardinals. It was like America's oldest field, essentially, for organized baseball, honoring the Negro Leagues. And Willie Mays was expected to make an appearance on that Thursday, and he said a couple of days before that he wasn't going to be able to make it. As unfortunately, he also passed away at the age of 93 on that Wednesday. So one of the best living legends of baseball, at least during our time, has sadly passed away. Take me through what you feel about this. I mean, you look at legends in the game, and Willie Mays was one that pretty much every baseball fan knew and admired throughout his time.
Yeah, like even people that don't watch baseball would, you could say Willie Mays, and they know exactly who Willie Mays is. He just had that kind of impact on baseball. Obviously, a sad day for baseball, but also a time to reflect that Willie Mays brought so much to the game, and it brought so many people into it, and it's sad to see him pass, but it's good to celebrate what he did for the game, and it was tough hearing that, and even the Giants announcer that had to announce it live on the broadcast was tough to listen to, but yeah, like you said, one of the all time greats, and you really can't say enough about how good Willie Mays was, both on the field, off the field. So definitely a sad day for baseball, but a good time to reflect on how much he brought.
And he even said on his statement that he wasn't going to be able to make it to the game, that he was proudest that not only his stats, but every single stat from the Negro Leagues now being inducted into the regular Major League Baseball statistical leaders. So he had played, I think, for 6 years in that league before he joined the Giants and became part of America's every household, essentially. Yeah, I mean, a lot of baseball players have passed, obviously, way before our time, like Yogi Berra, Babe Ruth, Mickey Mantle, Lou Gehrig. And when you think about the greatest in baseball, you can't say it without Willie Mays. So he will be missed, but like you said, it's great to honor him. And sadly enough, almost to have this game to essentially honor him and just overall that entire league that he played in. So I'm glad that they were able to do that this year, at least. And he knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
We do go from MLB to the ice, where we let off the episode. The Florida hockey, the Florida hockey teams are dominating NHL. You got to say, we talked about it before. The Lightning have won two, three.
They've won two out of they won in 2020, 2021, and then the Panthers this year. So Florida's won three of the last five cups. The state of
That's what
Florida.
it was. Three of the last
Yeah.
five, and they beat a team from Canada to do it. I mean, they made it dramatic. They decided to stop learning how to play hockey after Game Three. They got destroyed in Game Four, 8-1. Um, Absolutely dropped the ball or puck, I guess, in Game Five at home with a chance to win. But what a good Game Seven yesterday. I don't know if you watched it at all, or 2 days ago. No, yesterday was Monday,
Yeah.
but it was tight the entire time because it was 1-0 Florida. 1-1 Edmonton, 2-1 Florida, and then the entire third period, everyone was not sitting down. The entire audience, you could tell, was at the edge of their seats because they knew a goal could mean the huge, biggest difference between winning the cup or Edmonton getting right back in it. And it was a great game. I mean, just the third period alone was everyone. Edmonton threw everything they had at Bobrovsky, and it still didn't matter. They were able to hold on. I want you to know I did see video footage that the Stanley Cup has been within 1 mile of Lulu's Bait Shack. To they brought it to Fort Lauderdale Beach
Yeah,
Elbow
I
Room,
saw it.
which is on that corner of Las Olas, and they did actually dunk it in the water. So the
Yep.
Stanley Cup has touched water and sand. Um, but great accomplishment for the Panthers. Barry Zito has done a great job in building up his team. Paul Maurice, great job coaching. Uh, any thoughts from a neutral hockey fan?
I someone who grew up in South Florida, the Panthers being a direct rival of both of my favorite hockey teams. I never rooted for them. It's still good to see them get their first cup in 30 years. And again, the Canada curse lives on. I think it's 1993 was the last time a Canadian team's won the Stanley Cup. So, hey man, six Canadian teams won championships since 1993. They've lost I think six in a row since then. Um, but yeah, shout out the Panthers. Yesterday was a great game. Connor McDavid kind of just going non-existent for parts of the series is I think what doomed, especially him and Leon Draisaitl both had just really tough series. I think Draisaitl was playing hurt, got hurt in that Dallas series, and you could tell he was not the normal Leon we're used to seeing. But this is what that Florida defense does, man. They wear you down. I mean, yeah, they lost the game 8-1. Bob Browski had some rough games. Got pulled in was that game three, game four? He got
Game
pulled.
four, yeah, game four.
Um, got pulled in game four. But I mean, there was really no question who was winning game seven after. Yeah, at least I didn't. After seeing what was that stadium was rocking. Um, yeah, I mean, shout out Florida. Great game, 2-1. Bobrovsky stood on his head. Reinhardt with the game-winning goal, which was a bit of a softie, but this series definitely turned out a lot more competitive than we thought. Because the last time we had talked, was it 2-0 or was it 3-0 the last time?
I think it was 3-0. I think it
I
was
think it was 2-0.
2-0. Okay. I mean,
Yeah,
I knew the Panthers had won both game on home ice. I think that's what it
hmm
was. Yeah.
yeah. But we had thought this was going to be a quick one. Game three ended up going 4-1. Evan Rodriguez with two goals, and then the shift happened. The Oilers came out. McDavid had 4 points. They beat them 8-1 in game four. Game five, 5-3. Connor McDavid with 4 points again. That was the only impact Connor McDavid had on this series. I think he had 11 points total, but four of those were in game four and game five. Which, granted, they won. They had to win, but 11 points in 7 games is certainly impressive. He broke records, and we'll talk about the award that he won in a little bit, but I think that's where Edmonton's downfall was. Is Connor McDavid, kind of non-existent for more than half of the series, was really only there for 2 games. Had 3 points when they needed him most. Um, I still feel for him. I feel bad because I mean that team really isn't that great. Stuart Skinner was a decent goalie for the series. Leon Draisaitl, like I said, was probably playing hurt. Um, didn't at all in the Stanley Cup Finals. And then one good defenseman. They really need to rethink what that team needs to be built around because it needs to be built around Connor McDavid, who's now been in the league for almost 10 years and does not have a cup.
It honestly reminds me a little bit of Dallas with Luca, right? They have this generational
Hmm.
talent that they just need to do everything they can to maximize it because this might have been their best shot of making it. The West wasn't that crazy. I mean, yes, to beat Dallas in a tough series, but I mean, when is the next chance they're going to be able to make it to the Stanley Cup? I don't know. I don't know. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, yeah,
yeah. I mean,
okay.
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I mean, I could see the Panthers continuing to compete for the next couple of years and at least making it to maybe the semifinals, right?
Hmm.
Because the roster is, under team control. They've got pieces that are going to stay around for a while. I don't know if Edmonton has the same kind of flexibility and sustained success that the Panthers are probably going to have.
Yeah, no, I think the Panthers are set up great for years to come. I mean, they're playing in a conference with you know Ottawa, Montreal, Buffalo, Detroit, who have kind of been just the doormats of that conference for a hot minute. I think Boston's going to take a step back. Toronto has shown that they, even with Austin Matthews, they're really not that great of a team, and they're thinking about trading Mitch Marner. So I mean, they're just set up for that to run that conference for the next 3-4 years. That's how they're built. They were built on offense a couple of years ago when they won the President's Trophy. Didn't really get them anywhere. They shifted to that defensive-minded team first, and that really was successful for them this year. Bobrovsky probably cemented his Hall of Fame resume, I would think, with a Stanley
I
Cup
think so.
with a
Yeah.
Stanley Cup Finals victory. But yeah, like you said, that was Edmonton's shot. I mean, you've got teams like the Vegas who kind of had a pretty down year considering they just came off of a Stanley Cup. Calgary, who had a pretty rough year this year, I don't think they're going to stay that bad. Seattle, I don't think stays that bad. And I mean, teams like the Kings and Vancouver are only going to get better. Minnesota is going to be better than they were this year. Colorado, I mean, even though they finished with 107 points, they had a down year for their standards. So I mean, if you're an Oiler fan, you got to be looking at like what can we surround Connor McDavid with right now to run this back next year, because I see all these teams in the West just only getting better. And if the Oilers don't put a solid goalie, decent defense, and maybe a couple more scoring options, because we saw it outside of McDavid, who's going to score? So there's I wouldn't say trouble brewing, but it's an interesting time for the Oilers.
And I did have a friend who went to Game 7 watch party in Edmonton, and she said when the game ended, you could hear a pin drop in the
Oh
arena.
yeah,
Like it was, everybody outside was quiet. Like it was like somebody had just, like you were at a funeral, essentially. That's what it felt like. So I feel for the Oiler fans. You can't spell Oiler without an L. So take this
yeah.
one, Game 7 by the Panthers. And congrats to Florida. Listen, hockey on top. It's the Dolphins' turn next. Every
Us,
major team.
hockey works in Florida. The last three
Yeah,
out of the five cups have been either Tampa or Florida winning. You have the Everblades winning the Kelly Cup.
yeah.
So I mean, Florida just runs hockey. But let's talk about the Conn Smythe winner, because I texted you. Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe, and for those of you who don't know, the Conn Smythe Award is the playoff MVP. It's not just Stanley Cup MVP. Granted, Connor McDavid did put up record-breaking numbers in this. Sergei Bobrovsky deserved it. He only got
Yeah.
2 votes. He got one second place vote and one third place vote. He was 17-8 in the playoffs with a 2.38 goals against average. He is one of the only reasons they made that playoff run. Call me crazy or whatever. Oh, you don't know hockey. McDavid broke records. That's great. I think it's corny if you give the playoff MVP to the team that loses.
I think it's just like, oh, he had the most points. Give it to him. Like, that's not the
Yeah,
point. The point is who had the biggest impact on their team. And the team that won the cup, they would not win the cup without Sergei Bobrovsky between the net. Like, I'm sorry, between the posts. Like, you have to give it to him. Like,
oh,
he
I
was the main
agree.
reason they won game one, game two, game three, game seven, and all of their series heading beforehand. Granted, yeah, he got washed in game four. Game six was rough, but like, he's still the reason why they won the Stanley Cup and why they got there in the first place, why they had a good season. Like he should have won it. I'm sorry. This is the same situation as like if LeBron had won MVP in the finals and a team that the team lost, right? Granted, you recognize the player, you recognize the talent, but he couldn't get it done. He couldn't lead his team to the ultimate goal. You don't get the
Exactly.
finals MVP to a losing team.
Yeah, I did get some of my stats wrong. He was 16-8, 2.33 goals against average, but in the 24 games that he started, he gave up 2 or less goals 16 times. That is what puts your team in a position to win games. Granted, yeah, he got blown up. He gave up 6 in round one to the Lightning in game four. Whatever, that series was pretty much already over. They were up 3-0. He
It
gave up,
was.
yeah, he gave up 4 in the Boston game one, which they ended up winning. He was phenomenal the rest of the season. Didn't give up more than 2 goals to Boston after game one. Gave up 5 in an overtime loss to the Rangers. Again, after that, did not give up more than two goals. And then, granted, this Edmonton series, he had a tough stretch. Game 4, 5, 6, he gave up 5, 4, and 3. But still, 16 games where he gave up 2 or less goals is an incredible stat. I get it. Connor McDavid broke records. That's great. He dragged his team in game, 4 and 5 back into the series. But Sergei Bobrovsky won them this cup.
Just replay game one. The
Yeah,
amount of shots that they faced, and he still saved almost all of them, right?
yeah. He
And
no,
they won
he
that
did
game.
save all of them. He
That's what I'm saying.
saved all 32 shots in game one.
That's what I'm saying. Like, you have to give it to him just by that performance. Just
Hmm.
replay game one, and then you understand why he deserves it.
Yeah,
But congrats to the Panthers. Again, Florida team. Let's go. Hockey on
there you
top.
go.
We
Who's your?
unfortunately have another. Yeah,
I
go
was gonna
for it.
say who's your pick right now to win the Stanley Cup next year?
Why wouldn't it be Florida?
They are the odds-on favorite. You're not wrong.
You're right. Why wouldn't it be Florida? Why would I not choose the team that just won and has all their talent coming back? And it's only in a nicer training facility that they just got built that has pickleball
Yeah,
courts in it. Just saying. So
yeah. No, I think it's gonna be either them, the Rangers, or the Hurricanes. That's
yeah,
early predictions. I don't think
yeah,
Edmonton even makes it back to the Stanley Cup final. I think that was their chance.
yeah. Hurricanes are good. Hurricanes are good.
Yeah.
We go to a team that won their first title to a team that's won the most titles in NBA history, and that is the Boston Celtics. They won their 18th title. We kind of knew this was going to happen. We had a fool's goal that Dallas would make it a series. They won game four, and they got blown out in game five in Boston. I mean, I'm not going to lie. This has appropriately on social media and throughout basketball discourse been one of the lowest ranked championship title campaigns. Now, I'm not arguing the team isn't great. The team is phenomenal. I think this team would probably beat the Lakers from the bubble. It beat the Bucks in 2021 and the Warriors in 2022, whatever order that was. But I think just their campaign stains this title. Like no one else cares that they won the NBA title. Like normally you can be happy. Like even though the Heat lost, I was still happy for Denver to win. And the Heat lost the finals. We lost the finals, and I was still happy that Denver won their ring. No one is happy besides the city or state of Massachusetts and that Northeast area for Boston. Jaylen Brown won Finals MVP, thank goodness, because Jason Tatum only showed up at Game 4 and 5. I don't. I don't think they're going to be celebrated as much as other champions are in like 5, 10 years times.
No, and there's people saying that this is one of the best teams of all time, which all time is wild. This was not one of the greatest teams of all time. This was a really good team in a really mediocre year for the NBA. This was not, the Michael Jordan teams, the LeBron teams, the Steph teams of back in the day. This was Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown beating teams that were either injured or they were just superior. Like they are not one of the greatest teams of all time. Did they have a great playoff run? Yes, they lost 3 playoff games, all all postseason. That's incredible. That is amazing. Great stats. That's fine. They played the Heat, Cavs, and Pacers. Let's not act like they were beating prime Steph Curry. Let's not act like they were beating Giannis and all them. They beat the Heat, who were what, the 8 seed. They 9 seed actually, technically, if we want to get real.
Yeah, nine
They
seed.
beat
Yeah,
the Cavs, who were the 4 or 5 seed. They beat the Pacers, who were the 7 seed or the 6 seed. I don't know. I've already forgotten what the seeds were, but
Pacers were 6.
and they also beat the Mavs, who were what, 4 or 5. Let
They were 5. Yeah,
Yeah, let's not act like this team beat anyone better than a 4 seed this entire playoffs. They didn't.
and they never beat a healthy team. They never beat a team that was fully healthy. Like the stats, there's context behind the stats. Like that's why you have to watch the games and understand what happened. It's not just a statistical thing. Yeah, they went 16-3, but shoot, I would take the LeBron era Cavs that lost to the Warriors with KD over this team. Like that Cavs team was super good. They went against a team that added Kevin Durant to a 73-9 team, right? I'm taking those Cavs over these current champion Celtics because those teams were tested. The Celtics were not. The Celtics
No,
weren't tested.
and we're not shitting on the Celtics. They were great. They were 64-18, 37-4 at home. That's incredible. They are a great team. This is just not a generational team that people are talking about. It was a great season, a great run. They didn't match up with any top 4 team outside of the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's it. They played the number 9 seed, 7 seed, 4 seed, and 5 seed in the finals. This isn't a team that played the Knicks, the Bucks. They didn't get a NBA Finals against OKC, Denver, Minnesota. They got the easier teams in the playoffs, and they beat them like they should have. Jason
Hmm.
Tatum showed that he is a great player. He's a top 10 player in the league. This is just not a generational team. Enough about Boston. Dallas looked atrocious. Saying the entire postseason, this is the Kyrie and Luca show. We know that they have to be the ones that carry this team because there's really not much else on that team. What happened in the finals? Because Kyrie was non-existent. Luca, we know, doesn't play defense, but was just already he was cooked. There was no defense played from Luca. He didn't give a shit about being there at all. It looked like.
I think Boston's defense made the difference against Luca and Kyrie. Like they were able to switch 1 through 4 on any of them and not feel like they were at a disadvantage. You know, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Jalen Brown, Jason Tatum, they all showed up, played good defense. They're all interchangeable. They're all larger, taller forward/guards. Like it didn't matter who they switched. Like that's why, like even when Kyrie hit the shot over Rudy Gobert to or Luca, excuse me, to win, like they had as much smaller, or excuse me, not smaller, but slower defender on him. Like you couldn't do that against Boston. I think it's credit to Boston's defense that they played throughout the series. They really hounded. Like yeah, Josh Green, Dante Exum, they had great individual performances in games that they lost still, but for them to win, they're going to be able to stretch the floor more with actual 3 point shooters. I'm sorry, Derek Jones Jr. is not a 3 point shooter. Derek Lively is a big, not a 3 point shooter. He's a rookie though. He has time to grow. They could use a Duncan Robinson. They could use a Duncan Robinson. Just someone straight up to space the floor. Sorry, Luka and Kyrie, when they're working, you can't offer help defense. So I think it was more so about that. Now, again, just like we talked about with the Edmonton Oilers, right? The West is stacked.
Mm-hmm.
Nuggets are only going to get probably retool and stay the same with Jokic. The Lakers, who knows what happens with LeBron and AD. The Clippers, we don't know. But I mean, you've got the Thunder, who are only going to get better, right? You've got the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are only going to get better. Phoenix Suns may not blow it in their face, right? I think it's going to be tough for Dallas to get back here. And I don't think this is their only shot because Luka's still younger than McDavid, but I don't know. I think they have a shot, but I don't know if it's this version of this team. You know what I mean? Like they might still
Yeah.
keep Kyrie and run it and be okay, but I think there's going to be another version where like Kyrie's the third option. They get another secondary star, or like they don't have any secondary star, but they have really good role players throughout the team. Like I don't know what's going to be. It might be similar to like when Dallas had just Dirk Nowitzki going crazy, and then they had a bunch of really good role players on there. But I'm not too unconfident in them getting back to at least the semifinals. But it's hard to win, and even the Spurs with Wemby, you know, they're looming. So it's going to be tough for Dallas. I don't think their window is closed because they just got to the finals, but this was a good chance to make it and win it all. This was.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at their team, they really do need that defensive minded player. They don't have that with Luca. They don't have that with Kyrie. I'm not saying Kawhi Maverick. Kawhi who can just lock it down on defense, get you 15 points a game. If that's something you can get in the starting lineup as a wing, I think that's what you're absolutely taking. Um, Also, this series was not as close as the scores indicated. There were two, quote unquote close games, game 2 and 3. I mean, game two was a 10-point game the entire time, and game three wouldn't have been that close if Dallas didn't go on a 22 to nothing run or something incredible like that.
Yeah.
So I mean, it just really showed the disparity in talent, and that Boston was just tier one, and Dallas was just sitting in that tier two of, they picked off a game, they got it at home, but it was just it really was not competitive the entire time.
It felt more like Boston was slipping when that happened, more like the Dallas was playing much better. I think
Yeah.
Dallas was just playing to their potential, but like Boston, like at their top potential at the same time, was still going to be better, which is why they won the series. So
And I think I might disagree with their window is closed. I think it might be. I think that was their chance. Like you said, the Spurs have Wemby coming up, plus another top five pick this year. The Rockets were sneaky 500 this year. I think the Rockets are going to be pretty decent. And then you have teams like the Kings who didn't make the playoff, or they were a play-in team. I
playing,
think
yeah.
they're going to be a lot better. Yeah, they'll be a lot better with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis next year. Steph and the Warriors, I mean, you're never counting them out. And then I think the teams like the Clippers, T-Wolves, Nuggets, and Thunder, I think those teams all get better, especially the Thunder and Timberwolves. You're not losing anyone from those teams, and those teams are just going to inherently. Anthony Edwards is going to be the MVP next year. OKC, and we'll talk about them in a minute with the trade that they make. I think they got better from that trade already. Um, we can talk about that in a minute, but I think that might have been their shot. Can they make it there again? Absolutely. You have Luka on your team. If Kyrie can put it together again next year, you absolutely can make the finals again. There's no doubt about it. I just think that out of the top 8 teams in the West, they're probably sitting in that 5 to 7 range.
Yeah, that's why I said like this version of the team's window might be done. But like you said, as long as you have Luca, you're gonna have a chance. It's just how do they reconstruct it moving forward, you know?
Yeah, now if they go out there and are like, yeah, we're trading for Kyrie's or not Kyrie, Kawhi. Yeah, that
Yeah.
team's window is back open, absolutely. But if they run it back with this team or just make some minor depth moves, they I don't know. I don't see them even making it to the finals again.
Or being a top 6 seed. They were barely the 5 seed this year in the West.
Yeah,
So
they if we're really looking at it, they only made the play-in, or they only they were
avoided the
4 games.
play in.
Yeah, they were only 4 games out from being the 10th seed.
Yeah.
So let's not act like they were world beaters.
Historic.
They were
Yeah.
50-32, and you know lose a couple more games and you're playing in the play-in. So
Yeah. We'll talk about the 1 seed now. I mean, the Oklahoma City Thunder, they have a billion draft picks moving forward. They made a trade and then didn't have to get rid of any of those future draft picks. They got rid of Josh Giddey, to the Chicago Bulls for known defensive stalwart Alex Caruso. Both players are entering the last year of their deal. I mean, for the Thunder, you get an all defensive second team guard. It was your main weakness in the playoffs, or you just didn't have that great defender next to Lou Dort and Shea, Lou Dort's great, Shea is okay at defense, right? Now you get that other option. You can lock down defenders, make the three ball athletic. He's going to re-sign to a contract for sure. He just turned 30. And that's going to be a nasty defensive starting five. I mean, you've got Shea, Lou Dort, Caruso, J-Dubs, and Chet, who really are going to get better at defense. Like, that's a nasty. Again, they got to use all these draft picks because there's not enough roster spots, but that's a great haul for them. And for Josh Giddey in Chicago, I mean, OKC's got 17 draft picks in the next 6 years. You think
you
you
could
could
have
have
got
got
one.
one? You could have got one, just one. Even if it's like a heavily protected pick until 2038, when like it's a person that's just born is going to be playing in the NBA, like you had to get one first round pick. But they got Josh Giddey, who we know has off the field issues, which have been resolved, and he's not pending any investigation or suspension or fine or anything like that. But I mean, on the court, they trade him for a reason because the man can't play defense and he needs to be a ball dominant guard. He goes with Kobe White and Iota Sumu in Chicago, who are ball dominant guards. They're going to have to pay Giddey next year a ton of money because he's a 1 year, unless they do like a restricted free agent qualifying offer. But he's also only 21. He's still super young. I think for Chicago, this starts the rebuild and they need to move forward. But you couldn't get a first? Like, I think that's my biggest gripe about this trade. They had to have got a first round pick for this.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been nice. I still do think Giddey is the better player out of Caruso and Giddey. Josh Giddey averages 14, 7, and 5 for his career, somewhere around that. But like you said, they don't really need the scoring. They've got guys like Shea, who's going to be dropping 30 a game. They've got Jalen Williams, who's starting to really unlock it offensively. And I think Chet's just going to continue to grow his offensive game. We already know he's a defensive. He's great defensively, but I think that unlocking of the offense is going to be coming. I think it's a good trade for both. I think Chicago is going to get better with Josh Giddey next to Zach LaVine if he ends up still being there. DeMar DeRozan I think is a great compliment to Josh Giddey. I just I don't know. I think it's a good move for both teams. Chicago, they probably tried to get a pick, but I think the Thunder are actually going to be. I didn't think the Thunder would be the number 1 seed this year. I think going into next year, they're easily the favorite in the West.
Yeah. And they just started. They have cap space. They have draft picks. They control whatever they want to do. If they want to trade for a superstar or close to superstar-ish talent to go along with one of their young pieces, they could do so. I mean, why not trade Lou Dort and for their first round picks for Kawhi Leonard? Do you think the Clips wouldn't take that? Get a young star to play. You're probably going to lose Paul George in free agency. I'm just saying they could do anything they want to essentially in the offseason for the next 6 years. So
Oh, yeah. OKC is gonna run the offseason, the draft, whatever it may be, player acquisition wise. It's gonna run through OKC. Like you said, what, 17 draft picks in the next 2 or 6 years? Yeah,
they just
they
need
can
to they
literally,
just need to hit. They just need to hit. They just
yeah,
need to do the right
they
moves. But they have all the
they
pieces.
they can go out and get whoever they want. If they wanted to trade for the number one pick this year, they could. If they wanted to trade for Wemby and put Wemby
Well,
next to Chet, they could. You could. They have the assets to do that at this point. I don't think I don't think the Spurs are saying no to 8 first round picks.
to
Sure, they
five
want to
years
have
of
a first round.
firsts.
Yeah, like they can do whatever they want. They're not going to go get Wemby, but
Yeah.
it's just the fact that they could if they wanted to is insane.
Speaking of the picks and the NBA draft, it is tomorrow. The first round is tomorrow on the 26th. It's
Is it?
always on
I
my
thought it was
birthday.
Thursday.
Nope, it's always on my birthday. Always. So the second round is Thursday. First round is tomorrow. I know you look forward to it. Emphasis on the four because the Pistons can do nothing but get the fourth pick. Doesn't matter how bad the record is.
Uh,
Miss.
fifth, sorry, fifth pick.
Oh, excuse me. Fifth this season. My apologies. But
Hmm. Hmm.
still, I mean, Wemby, Paolo, Zion. You got Cade, who's great, but he's the only first round overall pick in the last 5 years that hasn't been an All Star team yet.
Hmm.
Granted, he was hurt, so understanding. Um, any predictions for the top 10? Hopes in general for Detroit? What are you looking? I'm going to watch it tomorrow. What are you looking forward to watching and or hope happens?
I see this draft. I just really don't care about. I mean, you have Zachary Reese-Shea, you have Alex Sarr, Reed Shepard, Klingon, who is now apparently a favorite of Atlanta. Stephen Castle and Matas Buzelis, I would say, are the top 6 prospects. Any other draft, those are late lottery picks. This draft is extremely unexciting, and these guys could prove me wrong. Obviously, we don't know. Atlanta rumored really like Stephen Castle, or not Stephen Castle, Donovan Klingon, who
Yep.
they could trade down, which is crazy. They could get him at 4. The Spurs could trade up to 1, get whoever they want to put around Wemby, and that
Yep.
team is like if you put a Risa around Wemby, brother, that
And
team is
and French too, like French
yeah.
connection as well.
French connection. I mean, they're both tall. That is going to be insane. But I think Atlanta actually might end up trading down. They could go into anywhere that 3 to 5 range. The Pistons have been mocked to draft Matas Buzelis for the last I don't even know how long at this point. Which the Pistons are at a point that I really just don't give a shit who they draft because it's either going to be Killian Hayes, who is out of the league within 3 years, Isaiah Stewart, who whatever, Sadiq Bey, who's not on the team anymore. Like their draft picks really. Jalen Duren, great pick, I gotta say. Jalen Duren, fantastic pick. But other than that, I mean, Cade, yeah, amazing. Amen Thompson or Asar Thompson really wasn't anything that great first year
Jaden
pick.
Ivey.
Jaden Ivey's kind of just they've had all of these high picks that just have not done anything. So at this point, they fired Monty Williams. Who the hell they hire?
I don't think the Pistons have even hired a head
Why
coach
can't
yet.
have we hired anyone?
I don't think
Oh
the
no,
Pistons
we
have
haven't.
hired.
We were rumored to get a JJ Redick. No, we
Yeah,
haven't. That's
yeah, I'm
right.
about to
We
say.
were gonna get JJ Redick, and then he went to the Lakers, which also happened. I just don't care. Whoever it ends up being is gonna play for them for a year, average 6 points a game, and then just gonna be a bench player.
I feel like this is going to be the Anthony Bennett draft all over again,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
where there's going to be a shock number one pick. The best player arguably goes two, or excuse me, arguably goes 15, which was Giannis that year. But I think, like you said, it's hard to root for a person, for personally, for the Heat. I hope I hope Rob Dillingham falls to Miami or Nikola Topic falls to Miami as a point guard. We have Terry Rozier for one more season before he's a free agent. You get either of those two guys in the Heat, I think they're going to be like Jaime Jaquez in the future. Just how did the Heat do it again? They found these people that fell and landed with them. I hope Detroit gets Reed Shepard. I hope Detroit gets Reed Shepard. They need 3-point shooting on that team. They really do.
I,
At least that's my opinion.
we're at the point where nobody on this draft list, if we draft, I'm like, wow, I'm extremely excited. Like they could trade up to number 1, take whoever they want, and I'm just like, oh, okay, cool.
But you'll see the draft highlights or the college highlights, and you'll hear the comps, and you might get a little excited, maybe a little bit.
No, probably not. This draft does not excite me at all. There's nobody in here that I'm like, wow, I'm really excited to see where he goes.
Gotcha. We of course touched on it. JJ Redick is the coach of the LA Lakers, the biggest upgrade. So Taylor, keep your hopes up. You could go right from podcasting straight to an NBA head
I
coach.
could.
The
Hey
Pistons,
man,
the Pistons might be
they need a
calling you.
coach. The Pistons need a coach. Trajan, what is his name? Trajan Langdon,
Yeah.
the new GM. I'm available. I have played basketball in the intramural league at Auburn University for 3 years. I have a podcast, and I like Detroit Pistons basketball. I know you're looking for a coach, so yeah, hit me up. You know where to find me. Follow us on Instagram. Slide me a DM. I'll
You
give
got to
you my
mention the
resume.
2K, the
Yeah,
2K
I
career.
I
Yeah.
played I played 2K for a long time. I have team management experience. I have coaching experience. I can cook up a better team than Monty Williams did.
Yep. You'd be like, Cade, do your thing. Everyone else, get the
Cade
fuck out
score
of the way.
40 a game and help Cade do whatever the fuck he wants.
Right. It's good strategy. But seriously, they showed JJ Redick's coaching resume, and it was 2 years ago. He was a volunteer coach, I think,
Hmm.
on an eighth grade or something
Yep.
pickup game. Now he's going to be that coach of the Lakers. Like,
Yeah.
I
I'll
don't
be
see this working.
no.
I don't see this working. I don't. This is the Lakers getting desperate because they couldn't get Hurley from Connecticut. I mean, I don't know if this is going to last more than a year, honestly. It might be another Darvin Ham situation. Like, I honestly think the Lakers have been worse since Jeannie Buss have taken over. Granted, they won a championship with LeBron. They convinced him to sign, but like since Jeannie Buss has taken over the franchise, man, they haven't made very good moves. Coaches, players, really anything. They got Anthony Davis in a trade. They convinced LeBron to join because it's LA, but they've been kind of ass. Not gonna lie,
Yeah.
even though they won a title.
I don't know if this JJ Redick move will pan out or not. Gut says no. I mean, no coaching experience ever. I get it. He's got a mind for basketball. He was a former player, but let's also not act like JJ Redick is a Hall of Fame player. Like this is not Michael Jordan taking over and coaching a team with no experience. This is not Larry Bird taking over and coaching a team. It's JJ Redick. He was a dude that shot threes. He was good. He was kind of a meme. Like eh, it
I'm
doesn't.
saying.
Hey, and he could prove me wrong. I don't. Fucking JJ Redick is more successful than I'll ever be. Has more money than I'll ever have. I'm happy he got the job. I feel like if you're the Lakers, you could find someone better than JJ Redick who has no coaching experience to coach literally LeBron, Anthony Davis to a championship.
This is like them convincing Melo to be a coach. Like just
Yeah.
a random great NBA player. Melo's a Hall of Famer, granted, but it just feels weird. Like you don't. And he played so recently, like 2 years ago. He was getting dunked on by John Moran and Zion Williamson, and now he's going to be a head coach. Like I don't know. I think it's too soon, honestly, but we'll see what happens. I mean, the Lakers are going to be if LeBron stays, they're going to be competitive, but it's going to be a weird time. We have the most important news to talk about, and that is international soccer, the
USA,
USA.
USA, USA.
They took on Bolivia in a half-empty AT&T Stadium because parking was $60 to the game. Get-in
No
price,
way.
get-in price was $380, and I mean, granted,
Holy
it's the
shit.
USA, but the stadium was a third full because it was just so overpriced. Like, why would I go watch the game, travel to Dallas first off, which I know it's a cheaper flight because Dallas is a major airport, but still, go to Dallas when I can just go watch it on Fox and not pay any money and go to a bar. Like, they need to incentivize people being able to go to the physical games. Like, granted, when they play Argentina and Brazil, it's going to be full of Argentinians and Brazilians, likely, unless, again, they got to, like, lower the money. But, anyways, off the field stuff aside, they did play Bolivia, took them down easily 2-0. Christian Pulisic, great free kick to be able to get the goal. And we had, who was it? Ballerin
Ball-
Falligan?
Faller and Balogun.
Fowler and Balogun. I got the first names. Sorry.
Close. That was close.
Yeah, Fowler and Balogun for a good goal to make it 2-0. I mean, their toughest competition is game 3 of the group stage against Uruguay. If they can win their next match in 2 days, they should have a good shot of making it. What did you think? Did you watch the game? Any thoughts on this
I did.
Copa America?
I did. I was excited. Pulisic dude, that is Captain America. That is the LeBron James of soccer. I think we might run the world in soccer at this point. There's no one that's going to beat us. I genuinely don't think so. Balogun was a great addition. They lost Serginho Dest to injury, so they had to replace him on the defense. But I get it. It's Bolivia. It's not a good Bolivia team, but they probably should have beat them by more than two. But shit, dude, like they got me believing. Next game's what, Panama on Thursday, and then Uruguay. If they win, which there was also some interesting. Where was it? Interesting scores. Let me pull up the scores because there were some interesting scores from around the tournament. But if they end
Yeah.
up winning the division or whatever, they're going to end up having to play most likely Colombia or Brazil. Except, let's see, what do we got right now?
Brazil drew.
Yeah, I was going to
Brazil
say
drew
Brazil
against Costa
drew.
Rica, 0-0.
Yeah, which, hey, if you win the division and Costa Rica somehow slides into that second spot, because Brazil still has to play Colombia now.
Yeah.
If Brazil loses to Colombia and Costa Rica beats Paraguay, it doesn't matter what happens to Costa Rica in that Colombia game. As long as they beat Paraguay and Brazil loses to Colombia, it's cooked. So I mean, there's a chance that the U.S. could go up against the Costa Rican team in the quarterfinals, but most likely going to have to play Colombia, Brazil. What do you think is what do you call a successful Copa America for the U.S.?
Semifinal appearance, competitive semifinal appearance. I would say that's a
Okay.
success. Even if you lose and you don't make it to the final, you can't lose 3-0 to Brazil. You can't lose 2-0 to Uruguay. You can't go down. You know what I mean? Like, you can't,
Hmm.
you got to score a goal at least. You got to make it competitive. You don't have to win because Argentina's probably going to win. Let's be real. Argentina just won the World Cup. They're one of the best teams in the world for a reason. Brazil, I don't know how they drew against Costa Rica, but they're arguably one of the best teams in the world too, just the amount of talent they have. You've got to make it to the semifinals, and you've got to make it competitive. If you lose in the quarterfinals, even if it's to Brazil, even if it's to Colombia, it's not a successful tournament. You got to prove you're a top four team in the Western Hemisphere. And to do that with Brazil, Argentina, Uruguay, and yourself, that's a win. But if they don't do that, to me, that's not a successful Copa America. That doesn't give me confidence into the World Cup that we could actually do something in the World Cup.
Yeah, and I mean, I know this is an international friendly, but the U.S. did just draw with Brazil 1-1 right before the lead up to the tournament. So they've shown that again, international friendly don't put much stock in it, but they can hang with them. Even at that kind of level. So would you call it a disappointment? Like if they go into pens against Brazil in the quarterfinals, is that a disappointment or is that just like hey, we played a top five team in the world, we took them to pens, we lost?
No, because that's competitive.
Okay.
Because, like, again, that's competitive against Brazil or Argentina, right? But if it's against any other team, I still think it's a disappointment. Like, you got to make it to the semis, unless you should be able to beat Colombia. You should be able to beat Uruguay.
Well, they lost 5-1 in the international friendly, so.
I know, but again, it's an international friendly, right? Take it
Mhm.
for granted of salt. And when the lights shine brightest, you've got to step up and perform. Their golden generation, this is their time. Like, if it's not this Copa America, it has to be the World Cup on home soil. To me, there's no better chance to make it to a quarterfinal of a major tournament or semifinal than this year and in the World Cup in 2 years. So you have to do it here.
The Olympics are happening too. Am I wrong? Or are they not playing in the Olympics?
Yeah, but the Olympics, you only get players that are 23 and younger, and you're allowed three people that are over that age limit. So it's more
Is
like
that
a
what it is?
U23. It's more like a U23 tournament. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I
that's
didn't
why,
know that.
like,
It
yeah,
just goes to show how much soccer I watch, but
that's why the Olympics are cool. But like, if you have a team with a ton of younger talent, you're probably going to win because your older players can't even play. Only like three of them can play. So
that's crazy. I did not know that. But
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, the U.S. Let's see, they get Panama. Panama
Thursday.
27. Yeah, Thursday at 3 o'clock. I guess 6 o'clock Eastern. But we'll see. I mean, I would say if they can go in there, beat Panama, just get to this quarterfinals and see who you match up with. I mean, if you get to Uruguay and you beat them 9 points, or at least get a draw, get seven, and you know, hopefully win the group. That's gonna be kind of scary though, because like I think I'd rather play Colombia than Brazil. I think Colombia's got a great chance at winning the group now that Brazil's already drew their first game. It, I don't know. I think it's kind of a death squad no matter which way we go. But if we want to be taken serious, we have to be able to beat at least Colombia. We have to be able to be competitive against Brazil because it's not really going to get any easier than that.
Yeah, I mean, in the World Cup, you're going against every other team in Europe, like France, Germany, England, Netherlands, Spain. Right? It's not like you're going up against worse teams in the World Cup.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you've got to show up now, so that when you get to the World Cup, you're prepared and you're mentally ready, and you're like, okay, we've done this before in a competition that matters against elite of the best. Now we can do it against even more of them. So
Yeah, I think I heard a stat where yesterday, not yesterday, whenever they played Bolivia, it was the first time, it might have been the first time in USA soccer history where every player in the starting 11 played in one of the, what,
major leagues, yeah,
five
and it
major
wasn't
leagues.
MLS. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm
So,
saying. The
like you
time
said,
is now. The
it's now
time is
golden
now.
generation.
It's got to happen. I mean, what are we looking forward to? I won't be able to watch Thursday's game, but for sure, I think Sunday they play against Uruguay or Monday. I'll be able to watch that.
I will
So,
be watching Thursday, hopefully from work. It'll be on my phone.
let me see when USA plays Uruguay.
They play on Monday.
Monday, yeah.
Monday at
Yep.
6. Oh, that's a late game. Monday 9 Eastern.
Oof.
Whoa,
Wow, that is late.
that
I
is
think it's the last
way.
game of the group stage. That's
It's
why.
good. Yeah, I was gonna say it's gotta
Yeah.
be.
No, it's not because Brazil drew yesterday. Brazil's group is last. Yeah, that's
That's
interesting.
still that's a late game. Oh, that's
Yeah,
gotta be like a. Where's this game at? It's gotta be like a at SoFi or something.
LA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Kansas City. What? Ah, whatever. Okay,
Whatever.
whatever. We don't make the
We,
rules.
we we of course have the European Championships also going on. I mean, if you've keeping up the action, I know you said you have. England, Denmark, and Slovenia advanced today. Serbia did not. France and the Netherlands and Austria advanced today, with Austria winning the group and France now as a two in their group, which is crazy. They only scored 2 goals the entire group stage. France did,
One of
and
them was
one
an
of them
own
was
goal.
an own goal. The other one was an Mbappe penalty. So just saying. You've got teams like Belgium and Ukraine and Slovakia playing tomorrow, and Romania. You've got Portugal, Czech Republic. The last of the group stage ends tomorrow. What have you made of it so far? I mean, there's been some great last minute goals.
Oh,
Italy's
Italy's game yesterday was quite possibly the greatest game in Euro history. At least that last literal 90, what, 8th, 99th minute goal where
last
they,
kick of the game.
yeah, they could have been eliminated. I mean, they could have gotten in as one of the third teams. They probably would have, I guess, but uh, that's still not a risk you want to take. And Italy, damn, brother, you gotta make that not as heart palpitating as you did. But really, no surprises. I mean, Germany topping their group, Spain and Italy, or Spain topping their group, Italy getting out of it, England topping their group. Uh, I mean, Group D might have been the group of death with Poland, Netherlands, France, and Austria. That group is actually stacked. Sucks for Poland for not getting out, but even the rest of
Austria
the
winning the group is crazy. Like with
yeah, no, that
France and
is
Netherlands there. Like
yeah
Austria
that
winning it of all teams.
I mean, France just haven't looked good at all. I mean, like you said, one own goal and one Mbappe penalty, and that offense has been absolutely terrible. Group B, I genuinely could not give a shit less than Group. I couldn't. Romania, Belgium, Slovakia, and Ukraine. The fact that Belgium has won, they've won a game and they drew a game against. Oh, sorry,
Everyone
they
in that
lost. No, they
division,
lost. Yeah, they're
everyone
all three
in that
points.
group, exactly, has a chance to make it or get eliminated. So that's
Yeah,
going to be great at 12 o'clock tomorrow to watch.
yeah, like that's fun. And then Group F, like Portugal should easily dog walk through. So I'm not really excited until the round of 16 here, which we do have matchups set for some of them. Like
Yeah.
Switzerland, Italy, that's a great game. Germany, Denmark is a good game. Let's see what else is set already. I think that might be it for set games.
There is. It's
But
likelihood that like Italy or excuse me, England is going to play the Netherlands. It's
that's fun.
likely that Portugal is going to play against Romania, that Spain's going to play against Hungary. But again, it has to depend on tomorrow's action before it all gets finalized. But
Hmm.
I think the craziest part is Germany, Spain, Portugal, and France are all on one bracket. So only one of those potential 4 teams is going to make it to the final. And then England and the Netherlands might play each other. And then you've got probably Belgium on that side. The rest of that bracket's a wash because you have Austria there too, right?
Yeah.
Who haven't had great international fame. Like That's going to be murder's row to get through in the quarterfinals and then semifinals of that side of the bracket.
Yeah. Hey, this has been the most entertaining soccer I've watched. I can't lie. It has been amazing.
It's only going to get better. I'm telling you, wait for tomorrow's game. There's four matches, 8 teams tomorrow. So 12 Eastern, 3 Eastern. So never know. Last thing we really have to talk about, because that's it for the major news. We've covered it all. Again, even in 2 weeks, we barely have enough to cover an hour in the podcast. Is continuing our series of ranking NFL position groups. We'll talk about some fantasy football later on, just you and I, not on the podcast. But I mean, we started with quarterbacks last week, had some discourse about Jared Goff, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert, Aaron Rodgers. Some disagreements there, Jalen Hurts especially. But running backs will maybe have some similar discourse. I haven't looked at your list yet. I don't know if you looked at mine.
I have.
You've got some names.
I do have some names.
All right, go for it. You can go first, in whatever order you want.
We're gonna have a lot of discourse on this one, brother.
Okay.
So I'll start top 10. I think they'll both be right on the. If they finish top 10, whatever. I still have faith that Travis Etienne is a top 10 running back. I have him at number 10. I am still a truther in the Jags. I still think that Trevor Lawrence is good. I don't know why, but I am a firm believer in the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think Travis Etienne will be fine. Number 9, Isaiah Pacheco, Chief. He's been good. I mean, he hasn't been top 3 running back. I'm not drafting him top 3, but Isaiah Pacheco is a solid top 10 running back. He could be all those 4: Josh Jacobs, Joe Mixon, Etienne, and Pacheco. I think could be put in any order. That's just they could. This one, I think, is where I get some discourse from you. I think Alvin Kamara is still good. I'm sorry. I think he's still good.
I hope you take him this high in the fantasy draft.
Oh, I will not be taking him that high. I still think Alvin Kamara is going to be good. I believe. I'm sorry. I think they have a shit quarterback in Derek Carr. I think they're going to have to lean on the running game. I think Alvin Kamara could still put up top 5 numbers. Call me crazy.
Crazy.
Okay,
Crazy.
What did he do last year?
I mean, listen, since the 7-touchdown Christmas game he had in 2012, Alvin Kamara has not been that great of a talent. I mean, yeah, he got 1,000 rushing, 1,000 receiving yards, and he's been okay at both since, but I don't think he's a top 15 running back in the NFL right now. I think he's just outside that group with all the younger talent coming in.
Ooh, that's crazy. Not even top 15. You don't think last year? We're not gonna look at his numbers from last year, but
See? See what I mean?
I still think he's got it. He's still got it in him. All right, I gotta go quick because my dinner's about to get ready, so I'm gonna speed through this. 7. I don't think Saquon Barkley is gonna be as good as people think he's gonna be in Philly. I'm sorry. I don't think it's gonna happen. He's already coming off of one injury. I don't think he's gonna be that good. I am sorry. 6. Jonathan Taylor, kind of a bounce back year. He's been pretty mid. That's really all I can say about Jonathan Taylor. He really made everyone believe he was the number 1 running back in the league, and then forgot to play football last year. Number 5, I think Bijan has a really solid bounce back year. New offense, new coordinator, new coach, new quarterback. So I'm thinking Bijan Robinson top 5 pretty easily. As long as he stays healthy, that should be that's a lock. 4, Derrick Henry goes to a new team, goes to a much better team. Let's also say they are going to run the ball a lot too, because they're not going to be down 3 scores the entire game because he doesn't play for Tennessee anymore. They're going to be running the ball. Breece Hall. I think Breece Hall showed flashes. He's been good. I think he has the chance to be really good on this Jets offense. They're getting Aaron Rodgers back, but are they going to want to put a lot of pressure on how old is he? 40?
40.
39? Yeah. Are they going to want to put a lot of pressure on a 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers coming off an Achilles tear? I don't think so. I think a lot of this is going to come down to Breece Hall. I have him at 3. Number 2, Jahmyr Gibbs. I'm sorry. That brother is good. He is going to carry this Detroit offense. Yeah, they have Amon-Ra, Jamison Williams, Sam Laporta. David Montgomery is even probably going to vulture a lot of it too. I still think Jahmyr Gibbs, barring CMC, is the best running back in the league. I get it. It's 1 year. He hasn't done anything outside of 1 year. He's a lion. I don't give a shit. Jahmyr Gibbs, lock it.
He's a lion.
Don't care. And then number 1, I mean, this is obvious. I think we all know the answer to this one.
Yeah,
It's Christian
Le'Veon Bell.
McCaffrey.
No.
Le'Veon
Oh,
Bell, yeah.
sorry.
I was trying to think of an obscure running back. I just couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. But
Lusaka Polite. That's an obscure one. I mean, I agree with
who?
some of your picks. Lusaka Polite, former fullback for the Dolphins. Anyways, I'm going to go 1 through 10 in my order. CMC, Madden cover athlete this year. Props to him. He got it even though he lost Super Bowl. CMC is the best running back in the NFL. He's been already for a couple of seasons. No shock there. I think Saquon is disagree a little bit. I think he's only going to be better than he was in New York with the Eagles. Of course, they're changing their offense around, but their old line's still solid. They have an elite passing offense. He's never had what he's had with the Eagles when he was in New York. So I think he's only going to do better. Derrick Henry at 3, pretty close to your 4. I think, like you said, better positions to score, not down as much. Their defense keeps them in games. I like Derrick Henry at 3. 4, Bijan, I agree with you. Bijan, Kirk Cousins at quarterback now can throw him passes that actually hit him. Doesn't do one-handed or behind-the-back stuff that he was doing last year. Bijan's going to be unlocked in this new offense. I think he does great. I still think Jonathan Taylor at 5, again, pretty similar to your 6. I think he's still going to be good. I think just the mesh with him, with Gardner Minshew last year at quarterback, they had to stack the box more. So he didn't do a good year. But now we saw the games he played very minimally for Anthony Richardson, where they had good dynamics between them, between him running the ball and Richardson running the ball. So that'll be fun to see. 6, I got Gibbs. Now, I love Gibbs, but like you said, he's a Lion. No, it's not that he's a Lion, but he's just a second-year player. I think he could explode and become the next Adrian Peterson, like in terms of being that good, that young, but I need to see him do it more for me to be able to judge him highly. 7 is Raheem Mostert for me. And I think at age 31, Raheem Mostert had 21 touchdowns, 22 touchdowns, and broke 1,000 yards. Now, granted, you can say touchdowns are just a cherry-picking stat, but the guy knows what to do with the ball in his hand to get in the end zone. He's still one of the fastest players in the NFL at his age. I think he's going to have a better season than anyone below him on this list, unless maybe number 8 and Breece Hall, like you said. Great talent. Aaron Rodgers now, they're going to rely on him running the ball. He did tear his ACL first year in the league, and that's got me a little bit worried, but he showed he was pretty healthy last year. As long as he doesn't have a setback, Breece Hall will probably jump in this roster list. 9, I got Nick Chubb. I know he had a devastating injury, absolutely devastating injury last year, but he had 1,500 rushing yards the year before and 12 touchdowns. Like, it's not like Nick Chubb is washed. He could come back and be like AP, who tore his ACL and won the rushing title the year after. Nick Chubb's a monster. I got Aaron Jones at 10 in Minnesota. Just a serviceable running back. He doesn't do anything crazy, but he's good. And I've got ETN and Jacobs on my honorable mentions, along with David Montgomery, a Lion. And I think Travis Etienne is extremely overrated. That's my view on that.
I don't have okay. Raheem Mostert, I get it. We're biased Dolphins fans. We want him to be great. He's what, 32? He's gonna have Devon Achane. Devon Achane's gonna get a ton of touches this year. I get it. He's fast. He still has the speed. He's gonna be splitting with Devon Achane. I don't think Raheem Mostert's a top 10 running back. Could he end up being in that 11 to 12 range? Sure, absolutely. But you also have Tua, and you have Jalen Waddle, and you have Tyreek Hill, and you have Devon Achane. This ball has to get spread around. I don't think he's putting up those touchdown numbers. Nick Chubb is wild, brother. I get it. Nick Chubb absolutely has the talent to be a top 3 running back in the league. There is no question about that. This man just suffered the most gruesome injury that I think, ever seen. That he tore everything. It wasn't just an ACL. He quite literally tore every ligament holding his leg together. Until he is out there putting up 1,500 yards again, I am staying far away. And this is nothing against Nick Chubb. He is an elite talent when he's healthy. The fact that he is going to be on literal one leg because he tore what? ACL, MCL, PCL, A through fucking Z at this point. I am scared. I hope he has a great year. I hope he puts up numbers, but picking him in the top 10 is insane. That's really, Aaron Jones, sure, at 10, it's serviceable. I feel like the top 10, if you're a serviceable running back. That's kind of where it's at. Nick Chubb and Raheem Mostert, to me, are like kind of wild picks.
But you never know. It could happen. We got to wait till the season comes up.
You know what? You're right. It's going to end up being like, damn, I still can't think of a random running back. That's crazy. Blake Corum.
He's a rookie. He's not a random. You got to think of a veteran like Peyton Hillis. Yeah, I think it's someone that's like retired like 8 years ago. Remember, like DeMarco Murray,
Yeah,
that's a running back.
there you go.
I
No
think
Sean
that's it for
Moreno.
this. Yeah, no Sean Moreno. Let's go. Never forget the crying in the Super Bowl, the memes. I think that's it for this podcast. We've covered everything that we need to. You've got dinner on the way. Uh, and we'll get back to you next week with
I'm
the USA results. No more hockey, no more
yeah.
basketball. Strictly a soccer podcast now
Oh,
for the next 2 weeks.
breaking news! Breaking news!
What?
Breaking the news live. Knicks are trading for Mikal Bridges. What do you think the Knicks just gave up for Mikal? Or yeah, what do you think the Knicks gave
From
up for Mikal?
Brooklyn?
Yeah,
Wow. That's a trade. I'm
yeah.
guessing so many firsts.
The Knicks just traded for Mikal Bridges and gave up Bojan Bogdanovic and
Trash.
5 first-round picks.
Yep. So many
Wow.
firsts. That is an insane haul. But I mean, they didn't have to do it. But now the Nova boys are
But
back
they
together. Every
yeah,
player that
they
used to
are.
play at Villanova is playing for the New York Knicks.
They're about to be really good next year. They saw what Boston did and said, "Damn, I ain't letting that happen again."
And Brooklyn needed the draft capital. They got rid of it all with the trade for Kyrie and Harden and Durant. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh,
Like I said, NBA draft season. It's going to be fun to see what happens tomorrow. We'll catch you up on the latest about that and the latest in the Copa America and European Soccer Championships next week. Until then, Alex,
Taylor. Peace.
peace.